Hey YouTube! So the time's finally come for me to review my Lotus Elise Club Racer. If you want the full tour around it, there is a video already up of that, so I'll pop the link below for you. But in the meantime, I'm going to try and stay as neutral as possible in reviewing. That's going to be very difficult, but I will try my best. Obviously, I will show you the highs and the lows. This is my daily car, so that might alter things a little bit as well. But let's get her out and I'll take you around. Obviously the car itself looks absolutely stunning, so that's always a positive in my mind, especially that aero, the colour, just everything about it just makes you smile. So as you can see by here, the Lotus is very short. I mean, I'm only 5'7" and it comes up to about my hip. So that can make getting in and out extremely difficult, which obviously when you're going somewhere and you're constantly going in and out, like if you're going around the shops and stuff like that, isn't that enjoyable. But there is a technique to it, and if you're smaller like me or you're a bit more flexible, then it does make things a bit easier. But let me show you the technique, so please don't laugh at me. And it helps if you want to alarm the car. So it's a leg in, sit on the chassis, tuck your head under, and just pop your bottom down and bring your other leg in. Simples, right? So we're actually using my boyfriend's GoPro, which I've not used before. It has been falling off constantly, as you can see, but I think I've got it to stick, so fingers crossed. We were going to get some shots on the outside of the car, but I don't trust myself right now, because if I break it I have to pay for a new one, and I can't afford that right now. So let's get going. So I do apologise for the sound, by the way, because obviously the car's very loud inside. So I have got earphones in with a microphone, so I hope that works. But it was connected to the car originally, so the sound just went shit. So let's hope it works for this. So we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I haven't actually driven this car in about 3 weeks, just because of weather and sort of being busy. So it's going to be nice to give it a bit of a blast, but our driveway is absolutely terrifying to pull out of because you actually can't see shit. So just bear with me if I can fly, if I get run over. We're going to make it. There we go. So as you can tell, I'm going to be shouting a lot through this, so that's going to be good fun. But obviously the track spec of this car, it means it's got no sound underneath, so it makes it extremely loud just for running. But yeah, so we always get a few funny looks from the neighbours. So obviously Lotus is all about quick, lightweight and good handling cars, and that is just the Elise summed up in 3 words. Well, kind of 3 words. But that's what sort of drew me to the Elise, is that it's just unlike any other car I've driven. I had a automatic BMW before and it was so dull and sort of boring. It was almost autonomous, so you could have like a computer driving it. Whereas I drove my partner's Elise when he had it, and I was in absolute awe. I was in love because I've never felt that way about driving before. Obviously I've enjoyed it and I've loved going quick and all that side of things, but it opened up a whole new experience for me in a car. So obviously the way it takes the corners and handles the grip is just phenomenal. It will keep on giving constantly. And then obviously when you get that experience on the track, that's when it really starts to shine, and that's what I can't wait to actually see my car go and do. So the Aurora is more of like your sort of larger, more refined model, and then you've got the Exceed, which is obviously the sort of faster, heavier V6 track spec model. It all depends what you like, so whether you want that more power or whether you want that handling, it's sort of 50-50. Obviously the Exceed is going to have the handling still, but the Elise just sort of, it's on rails. The whole point of a Lotus, especially Elise, is the way it drives, so all the sort of negatives like the inconvenience getting in and out, the size of it and the noise even, when you drive it that all sort of goes out the window, and you just, even just short journeys to the supermarket, which to be honest I don't actually do, they're just enjoyable and it will make you smile regardless. But obviously they're not for everyone, especially if you're doing the daily journeys to work. If you've got a half an hour trip to work and there and back every day, it's not going to be as enjoyable. It sort of make it more of a chore. But if you have it as a weekend car, obviously that is just the dream. But for myself, during such term time, I only can travel an hour once a week, so for me it's ideal, and I can put up with that during the winter and, well, just basically not go in. But for me it works out perfectly, and I can make do with what I've got. So I've got everything locally within a walking distance, so I must admit I walk to the shops and the gym and everything in the pouring rain because I don't want to get my car wet, but it's worth it in the end, because at the end of the day I'm driving a Lotus, and this is like, I've got my dream car, so I'm so over the moon, and it's worth that sacrifice. So every car you get, you have to give something. So you're never going to have the car that ticks every single box, has the luxury, has the speed, has the performance, although some of you might argue that. But if you find what you like, and for me that is the handling and the sort of drivability of the Lotus, then what more could you want? So let's give her a bit of a scream. It's only 217 horsepower. I mean, I had a mini truck Superworks before, and that was only 211. And people found it quite funny that I was only getting 6 horsepower more. But when you have the supercharger on and you strip all the weight out of it, it's just, you don't need the horsepower in it. It's plentiful, definitely. I've missed driving this. Obviously, times when it's really busy and the weather's been a bit crap, it's nice to then get out, and it makes you realise how much more special it is to drive. Now, one thing people always think is that because of the handling and the sort of lightweight, lower horsepower, is that they're not as quick as sort of like your other cars. You get a lot of like Golf R owners, M140 people saying, oh yeah, my car will absolutely beat yours, but if I'm honest, not really. She goes. They're so underrated. That's one thing I love about Lotus. You barely see any on the roads. There's something special, and people don't understand Lotus until they've driven one. Obviously, they see it and they think it's a mini supercar. So you do attract a lot of sort of attention from kids, which is a bit strange. But you'll drive past them and be like, oh, all the time. So they do look something special, but because people don't see them that often or hear them, they don't really understand the whole concept of Lotus. And I'll be completely honest. Before my partner got his, I was exactly the same. He had an M4 before, and I was just like, no, you've got to keep your M4, it's so much better, like, it's so much cooler. A bit of like bad snobbery. And then I test drove the Lotus with him, and I was just there, and I came out and I went, you can have it, as long as I'm on the insurance, because I fell in love. So going back onto some of the negatives, obviously I said I'm going to stay as impartial as I possibly can. This spec has the track suspension, so it makes the ride extremely bumpy and hard, basically. And on long journeys it's not too bad, but if you're getting on one of those sort of British motorways that are, the state of English roads, it can be very uncomfortable, and just, as you can kind of see, when bouncing around a lot. But when you get onto a road that's sort of smooth, like a track or anything, that's where it will really come into its element. Another issue with Lotus is things like the final touches. So it leaks in the rain sometimes, so when you wash the car you end up with drizzles downside the windows. When it snowed really heavily there was a pool of water under my seat. But that's just things like the seals on the roof and bits like that. I think the hardtops did get resealed for myself before I bought it, so I think that just maybe didn't get done as good a quality maybe. But again, as you can see, there's lots of rattles. I can stop talking now, it's loud. But yeah, so obviously we can have the like rattles and stuff like that. It's got no soundproofing, so at the end of the day, if there's a stone caught in it or anything like that, there's going to be sort of rattles, and it's going to be really sort of annoying. But when you're driving it hard, you don't hear it. Perks of having a loud car. So another favourite thing about Lotus is being able to do things like heel toe downshifting, red match and double the clutch, stuff like that. I learnt that in a Lotus with my partner down in base once, and that was the best night of my life, to be quite honest. We had about 3 or 4 hours just driving around an RAF base, him teaching me how to do these sort of things. And in other cars it's possible, so I had a mini jump paperwork and you could just about do it, but the technique was very bizarre. You had to really sort of twist your foot and ankle to really get the heel tight, but in this it's just like a slipper. It's so easy to do and so sort of natural for the car that it makes you feel like a racing driver as well, so it's always good fun to do. So again, Lotus, they don't have any of this power steering malarkey. So although when you're going at speed, obviously the steering does lighten up quite a lot, and that's fine. When you're moving it, especially on stuff like gravel, it is a huge arm workout. So my biceps must have doubled in size since having this car. But that's also a demonstration of the other negative, is that it's because of how low it is, especially with splitter, you have to go very slow everywhere and also avoid any speed bumps. I mean, I haven't taken this car to uni yet because of COVID, and I'm very scared to, because there's some very nasty speed bumps and I'm definitely going to end up scraping my splitter, which I do not want to do. Nearly at the end of the review, I just forgot to mention a couple of things, is obviously trying to stay impartial. The inside is quite small, so if you're quite a larger person, taller obviously, there's 2 of you, so when my partner's in the car as well, I constantly catch the gear knob on his leg all the time, so it is quite a small space to be in. Obviously on your own that doesn't really matter. The other thing I wanted to mention as well is I've completely forgotten. I thought about it about 5 minutes ago when I was driving. I don't know. So yeah, to conclude this review, obviously I've tried to stay impartial as possible. There is obviously the ups and downsides to the car, like there is every other car, but in my professional opinion, get one basically. I mean, although there is the negatives to it, when you drive one, all of that is just forgotten about, and it just makes it 1,000 times worth it. And I promise you, you will never have such a fun driving experience as you will in one of these. So Lotus Elise review, to conclude, they're awesome. I love them. They have the downsides, but at the end of the day, they're perfect. So I'm going to do my partner's Exige as well soon, so hopefully I just need to bribe him to let me take that out on my own. That will be interesting. I'm going to compare it compared to the Elise as well as an overall review, just to see the differences, and so you guys can see the differences between the models. That's hopefully going to come up in the next couple of weeks. So comment down below any other sort of videos that you want to see, challenges, the fitness side of things again, just all that sort of side of things. Of course, any other cars that you want to see me review. So I'm going to be cheeky, message garages and see what I can get my hands on, maybe for an hour or so, and just sort of have that experience and widen my variety, because obviously trying to be a racing driver, driving different cars is going to be quite useful, because you'll learn the different handling, different steering, so it'll help you really understand the car a bit better. Obviously driving your own car on track is the best thing possible, because that's the car you're used to, but just for like general fun as well, it will be great fun to have a go in some other cars, especially if I've got like a list that I want to do. But please subscribe, like and follow to stay up to date with the journey, and I'll see you soon. Bye.